Hello and a wonderful good evening. Welcome to Tango Music Talk on Tanturi with Campos tonight. And I have the big pleasure to welcome two good DJ friends of mine, Matjaž and Vlado from Maribor. Matjaž living in Vienna currently, and Vlado also being the organizer with Tango. And I had the pleasure to dance to your music already, and I had the pleasure also to work with you. And I'm very happy that you're here with me tonight to discuss about Tanturi. My first opening question is, how do you like Tanturi, and what was your first contact with Tanturi?
Asking who?
Whoever wants to reply first.
Well, with Tanturi, I met Tanturi first through the movie Tango Assassination with Robert Duvall. I think everybody saw this movie. Then the end theme was the dancing with Pablo Verón and Geraldine Rojas, if you remember, and it was Tanturi Una Emoción with Campos, and this was the song that hooked me a lot, and then when I started, that was before, I don't know, it was movie in, I don't know, I watched it 25, 30 years ago. And then when we started to dance tango 15 years ago with my wife, we noticed on the milonga, we noticed Tanturi quite easy, and Tanturi is friend of the dancers, and it's always remaining the one of my top orchestras for dancing, for listening, for DJing also.
Nice. What was your first contact, Matjaž?
I discovered Tanturi quite quickly in my tango journey. At that time, there were no great projects as we had now, like Tango Tunes or Tango Tide Travel or Tango DJ.at, where we have incredible music and really well organized and in really good quality. But at that time, that was around 2003, 4, something like this. It was time when these peer-to-peer networks were really active, where people were sharing like music, movies, and so on. And I was trying to really find some tangos there and to learn, because actually I didn't know much. And I discovered Tanturi quite quickly, and it became one of my favorite orchestras. For some time, even it remained my favorite orchestra. Like for a few years, I was thinking, okay, Tanturi is my favorite orchestra. And especially Tanturi Campos. And it is still one of my favorite orchestras. And every time I play it at Milongas, it must be some special moment. I also play a lot Tanturi Castillo. It's like really, I think, a good friend of any DJ, because people really love it, especially if you want to keep like people dancing. And for Tanturi Campos, I usually put it more in the second part. Yeah, for me, what really was the main thing that I liked it is this amazing voice of Campos and amazing orchestra. They fit really well together. I mean, it's one of the unique combinations we had, because like both orchestra and singers sound totally different in another constitution. So it was really always an amazing moment for me. Still is.
Somehow I envy you, I have to say, because now I would say Tanturi is my top 5 orchestra after the big 4. But at the beginning, I had difficulties. And I remember I met Michael Lavoca's book, and he said, Tanturi is such a great orchestra. And I started to listen on Spotify, and somehow the songs that I like most were maybe Pocas Palabras and La Vida es Corta. But I didn't get in contact with Tanturi Campos until, I don't know, 3 years ago. And yeah, I remember when I was in Buenos Aires last year, and I was one night at Canning, there were 3 shows, and after every show they played Tanturi. And first Castillo, then instrumental, and then with Campos. And I thought, yeah, here they play Tanturi even more. And of course, it's extreme to play 3 tandas in 3 hours, but shows the value of it. Before we listen to the tanda, what in particular, what is a musical detail where you say this is very typical Tanturi and this is why we love him so much?
Well, Tanturi, I mean, it's let's say it's like Castillo said, así se baila el tango, you know, or así se canta, you know. With Tanturi, we have really full-blooded tango, you know. The pattern is clean, the rhythm is clean. Tanturi is very traditional tango. I mean, he is not a revolutionary, he is not the carista, he's traditional in the line of D'Arienzo, when everything is clear, when instruments are not, you will not, by Tanturi, you will not see a spectacular variaciones of bandoneons and violins like with Lawrence, for example, or Pugliese and so on. That's why this purity of Tanturi tango is so astonishing, and it's so attractive for listening, for dancing, for absorbing tango at all. You know, if you would play to somebody that doesn't know tango, what is tango, you know, I think Tanturi would be one of the orchestra that for sure you will play, you know, and say this is tango, you know.
I'm not 100% sure. I tried it once and people were like, no, Varela attracts them more. But that is what they Fumando Espero and that stuff, or Merceditas, I think, for people who are not in contact. Matjaž, do you want to add, like, simpleness and purity? I take from Vlado.
Yes, I fully agree about this. Like this simplicity, and I really like this the color of the sound of the orchestra, especially with Campos. Like it's so gentle and it embraces you. It's like really very pleasant for the ears. And I think also like back in the old times, like before like these incredible projects that we have now, where we can get really good quality music. At those times, it was also depending of like, I mean, I was like very selective about particular orchestras because the quality of the recordings were not very good. But Tanturi, I think, was still, even in those times, was quite okay. And like Vlado said, it's really like very simple, but still like it has everything that it needs to have, like the essential things. And also the voice of Campos is just incredible. I mean, even when he sings about sad parts of life or some disappointments or some disillusionments and so on, you can feel that there is like some kind of sadness, but it's still not like you know, this kind of destructive sadness, or I don't know, like just being negative or something. But it's like, I'm just telling you a story, and yes, while the orchestra or the life is going on, that's what I like with Tanturi.
And in this, sorry to add, and in this complexity, I don't know if you are going to play the whole tanda or you're going song by song.
I will play the whole tanda.
This Kaja bandoneon, for example, is such a typical example of how let's say we will hear in this Kaja bandoneon, we will hear all the complexity of tango, you know, the instruments, the dialogues between instruments. One is asking the instrument, the second is answering, and so on. So let's say it's all the structure that you can also find in Pugliese, but Tanturi is giving this to us in such a let's say pleasant, attractive, let's say perfect way. I mean, this Kaja bandoneon, when I was listening and when I was
we will discuss the songs in detail after the tanda. If not, it's a little bit unfair that you listen to the tanda in advance and the others might not have it.
Sorry to overtake.
No, it's good. What I want to add before I play the tanda is this simplicity I would put to the marcato. Tanturi uses a very clear marcato in 4 very often, tang, 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 tang. And depending on the year, in the beginning, 41 with Castillo, he's still more dynamic, and with Campos, he's already more lyric, and the marcato also changed. But what is similar to D'Arienzo, what we also had in the Tando already in the 30s, that he's playing with the pausas. So we have the marcato, but then we have a part where there's no marcato at all. Another thing that is more similar to the Troilo Tanda I played last week is that he uses chains of syncopation, and that is normally used in the B part. He doesn't play them that aggressively as Troilo does, but he uses more syncopation in the accompaniment than D'Arienzo does. And the third thing that also goes to this simplicity is that he loves to play with the shading, the different articulation of the same theme. And then we have a lot that we hear a theme, and then it's repeated, and first it was legato, and the second time it's staccato, or the other way around. And I think this explains why we appreciate this simpleness so much, because still it's a little bit different, and it's clear, but it's not just repetitive to have the marcato all the time.
Yeah.
The structure of the tanda tonight, actually, these are not so famous songs. So those of you who are not DJs might recognize just the last song. I would say this is the most famous song. The first 3 songs, at least for me, 3 years ago, I would not have known them. And I call them the boat tour. So I have a piece I start with, and the second piece develops in a little bit away, and then there's a high point at 3, and then I come back to the harbor, and it's more again like the first piece that I had. And in contrast to the symphony form that I presented last week, where the last piece was the strongest one, tonight it will be the third one, although the last one is the most famous one. So somehow we have an opposite effect. So I prepared again a presentation with the lyrics that you can follow, that you can read, the translations.
Esplendor, la cálida emoción de algún pregón arrabalero. La luna de mis sueños dejó en la noche su canto bueno, requiebra en tu balcón florido y coquetón, con dulce voz mi buen amor. Y mientras la ciudad sueña también sentimental, lejano se hace tango un bandoneón. Son como el tango tristón que enredó en tu balcón, el compás de una queja que es mía y te besa. Yo soy tu cantor, esta noche al pasar en mis sueños en flor quiero dejar mi corazón. Tu cantor y esta noche al pasar en tus sueños en flor quiero dejar a mi corazón. emoción que llevo adentro. La canción es sentimiento al brotar del corazón. Quiero cantar al amor dulce que nace y al dolor que se deshace en la angustia de mi voz. Quiero cantar la alegría y las penas de mi pueblo, que sus penas son las mías, como es mía su emoción. Y yo que he sufrido tanto, quiero cantarle a la vida, que me dio tantos encantos, como así también dolor. Así se canta, con la emoción en los labios y un sollozo en la garganta, cuando hiere algún querer. Así se canta, a la madre que adoramos, a la gloria que aspiramos y al amor de una mujer. Poniendo el alma en la voz un no sé qué, hecho nudo en la garganta, porque así se canta, con la emoción de Gardel. Así se canta, a la madre que adoramos, a la gloria que aspiramos y al amor de una mujer. Poniendo el alma en la voz y en la voz un no sé qué, hecho nudo en la garganta, porque así se canta, con la emoción de Gardel. Me entristecen nuevamente, tus notas me recuerdan ese amor. Calla, bandoneón, calla por favor. El tango que tus teclas hoy entona es ese que escuché con el adiós. Bailando nos enamoramos, bailando nuestro amor juramos. Testigo el bandoneón nos endulzaba el corazón con el rezongo de su voz acariciante. Un día rezongo más triste fue el día que el adiós dijiste. Un tango bien tristón acompañó nuestro dolor y así bailando llegó el adiós. Por favor, el tango que tus teclas hoy entona es ese que escuché con el adiós. Calla, bandoneón, calla por favor. Vamos, morocha, a bailar este tango sin par que rezonga en la orquesta. Vamos a vestir de fiesta el corazón que hasta la noche de hoy se presta. Qué gusto da seguir ese compás, más hondo, mucho más y tan amigo. Vamos, morocha, a bailar, que el salón encendido nos espera ya. En el salón quedó mi juventud, lejana juventud. Siguiendo huellas de tango no me perdí ni una noche, siempre bailando, bailando. En el salón dejé mi corazón prendido a una ilusión. Allí, tal vez arrinconado, lo he de hallar cansado de esperar su amor. En el salón dejé mi corazón prendido a una ilusión. Allí, tal vez arrinconado, lo he de hallar cansado de esperar su amor. Vamos, morocha, que así con usted esta noche vuelvo a revivir.
Welcome back. How did you like the not so famous Tanturi Campos tanda?
I mean, I like it. I like I like it. I like everything.
That's an easy situation to start with.
That's easy situation. Tanturi Campos is easy situation. Well, I don't know if I would choose en el salón for the milonga. Sometimes when you're DJing, it's a tricky. This is a tricky business, you know, because usually you go for, let's say, 2-3 tandas, or let's say 10 tangos that are very well known. People are accustomed that maybe they also have on the practicas that they have with the maestros and so on, and that's it. I mean.
Well, if you play a lot of tandas like this, then a friend of mine said, well, then it's a DJ where you have to concentrate a lot on the music. And of course that we don't want. So I don't recommend to play 10 tandas like this a night. I think like my idea was from the lyrics a little bit. Last week we had dramatic, unhappy love tanda, and this tanda is more comforting. And my favorite part, I read it again, is in the first song. So soy tu cantor y esta noche al pasar en tus sueños en flor quiero dejar mi corazón. So I'm your troubadour, and tonight as I pass by, I want to leave my heart inside your blossoming dreams. I think it's quite elegant for a tango and not so extreme, like en tus sueños en flor, in your blossoming dreams. I would like to be heard and leave a little memory. And he's also singing about the bandoneon, lejano se hace tango en bandoneon. And the second song, Así se canta, it's from the same authors as Así se baila el tango. So it's not a coincidence that they chose this Así se hace. And how it starts for a singer, it's what we want to have, like quiero volcar en mi canto la emoción que llevo adentro, the emotion that I carry inside. Like we want to share something, and I think Campos has the gift that he can do this with such an easiness. Like it doesn't cost him anything. He's tiny little bit nasal, but very elegant in the way he does it, and a very balanced voice. It's hard for me to say if he's more baritone or tenor, because the voice is stark, but he does everything very lightly. And in the Esta noche al pasar is a mi bemol, and for a baritone, whatever, it suits his voice. And how he has here in this standard this I want to sing from my people, de mi pueblo, la alegría y las penas de mi pueblo. And I think it's something that we don't have in so many tangos. And it continues this idea. Please, Matjaž.
No, it's wonderful. The lyrics that are related with these songs, and just coming back to the first song, it's one of my favorite tangos. But I usually like listen to Lauren's version, which is like the original first recording.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to share one beautiful memory related to this song, because it was one of the presents I got this year for my birthday from my teacher for singing, and it will remain with me as a beautiful memory.
For the insiders, like the teacher, his singing teacher is present tonight with us. Although it's an unknown song, it's very catchy, the first song, like this. It's something we easily can take, and it's repeated afterwards. So for this, it's something, even if you don't know it, I would say you feel inspired to dance it. Coming back.
Also, if I can add, Campos, it's very interesting because he was not he was not hardcore, or let's say hardliner, like let's say Chakwe or these tangos or singers, they rompe in raja. He was also singing. He was singing a lot. He was not, I mean, so hard in tango. He was singing with the guitars. He even after Tanturi, he stopped his career because in '46 he was married, so he left the band. Then he was singing sometime in the '50s with Rotundo and the Calo, and then he stopped, and he then he was singing a lot with guitars, and a lot of tango canción and so on. So this way of singing Campos is also something very special. This is what I like with Campos, just like an intermezzo. So yeah.
I mean, a similar voice is Vidal with Pugliese,
yeah,
who also came from to sing with guitars. But I think Jorge Vidal, no, there's so many Vidals. But his songs are difficult for the milonga. I don't know if you play it, but let's stick with Tanturi Campos. Caixa bandoneon, cachar is like to get to be silent, or also to shut up. So for me, it was interesting that the first song is like with the sweet sound of the bandoneon, I will leave my heart in your dreams. And the second one, how I will sing, and then the third one, okay, now shut up, bandoneon. It didn't work out again. But it's the typical tango story. Like we fell in love, and we enjoyed the sweetness of the bandoneon. And afterwards, one time it was even more sad, and then she said goodbye, and it was over. I think it's a very interesting song, and we also have the version of D'Arienzo with Laborde 10 years later, and Jose Garcia, which I'm not such a fan, but it's also interesting to compare it. And the last one, En el Salón, it's a very general, emblematic tango about vamos morocho a bailar, and vamos a vestir de fiesta el corazón, and how to celebrate tango. And the last two lines, vamos morocho que así con usted esta noche vuelvo a revivir. So we start everything again. So that was my idea behind it. We start again to go and sing and leave the heart in the dreams, and we start to fall in love, and we start to separate, and then we dance and start everything again. We had some. You already mentioned Caixa bandoneon before, so maybe we start with some specific examples from this song first. It's a very beautiful example. First, it's presented legato, and then when it's repeated, it's very non-legato, very light staccato, actually. So I played for you Caixa bandoneon, the opening. What you also heard very nicely is that in the beginning there was almost no accompaniment, so it was very like the dang ka da da dam, and you repeat dang ka da da dam, and then starts the marcato. But also then the marcato is just for the first part of the phrase, and he gives a lot of pausas. And I think this is something what I in particular like for this dancing, that it gives me a lot of freedom to express the music, not with steps, but with embrace, with different parts, and this music inspires in particular. So now we had this dam, ba, da, da, dam, molto legato. When it's repeated, it comes like this. So first the violin pizzicato and the bandoneon answering what was first the piano. And simple, as Vlado said at the beginning, from nothing new, but it's a change, a new color, and has this, we need to be attentive. And I think this is also something good for us dancers. If we have not, okay, whatever happens, we get this. Not that it's not beautiful to dance it sometimes like this, but this music teaches us to be, to listen more, not only to the music, but I would say also to our partner. You want to listen to it one more time? Sometimes people say when yeah. So the beginning, the first 8 part. I said before, very typical for Tanturi is also the chain syncopation. This is more in the tradition of Troilo than of D'Arienzo, and very typical when the singer gets in with the chorus, the refrain, so it's the B part, and especially if there's a long song, then we have the syncopation happening underneath. It's 3 times a syncopa a tierra. So he's singing soy tu cantara da da da, and underneath the bandoneons do like chung 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 chung, but it's still softly. It's gently how he's doing this syncopation, so not to interrupt the singer. One more time.
Como el tango tristón que enredó en tu balcón el compás de una queja que es mía y te ve.
We have a similar thing happening in, I think, Casa Bandoneon.
Bailando nos enamoramos, bailando nuestro amor juramos, testigo el bandoneón.
And even a little bit similar to Troilo, the piano is introducing it like drrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrr gives us kind of a warning. Now will be happening something.
Bailando nos enamoramos, bailando nuestro amor juramos, testigo el bandoneón nos endulzó el corazón, con el rezongo de su voz acariciar.
You also heard
Helmut,
the
may
violin?
I ask a question?
Please, of course.
As a leader, would you follow that syncopations, because they are kind of hidden between the entering vocal and the entering singer?
This syncopation, it's a little bit hidden, but I love to follow this syncopation. Basically, if the syncopation is in the accompaniment, and here it's in the accompaniment, it's more easy to be expressed with steps. If the syncopation is happening in the main theme or in the link in the bridge, it's more like changes the character. In the accompaniment, it's danceable. Of course, we are free. We can also go for something else. If we have the syncopation happening, don't forget it's not changing the strong beats. So we have rankan, kan, rankan, kan. So it's just having an influence if we do a double, and then the double is taka, kan instead of tan, ka, dum. And you're right, it's soft, but for me it's even more interesting to dance a soft syncopation.
Yeah, but it was more related to the fact that these syncopations are occurring almost simultaneously with the moment the singer is coming in.
They are always, they are, this is what I'm now showing as the example, that it's very typical for Tanturi. It was also when with Castillo, that not directly when the singer is coming in, but when he sings the chorus, so the beat part.
Because
So,
it's very often it's said or kind of suggested to kind of suspend or wait a little bit for the initial phase or a couple of phrases the singer is singing, just kind of listen to the voice and then continue dancing.
yes, exactly, but it's not his initial entry. That's why.
Okay.
Of course, it's our personal choice if how we want to interpret that, and if we want to take this syncopation with a step in our dance, or if we want to take the syncopation just with the way we embrace, or the change in tension, maybe that we have a little raise in tension when there's syncopation is happening and a little bit release when the syncopation is over. There are many ways. You want to ask him, or did I answer?
No, I'm fine. Go ahead.
In the other two songs, I will play as well, and the syncopation, like this kind of syncopation, I call chain syncopation. So we have 3 or 4 syncopations after each other, and then comes one phrase where we just have marcato to relax a bit, and then it comes again. And Tanturi normally uses the first and the third and relaxes the second and the fourth. Troilo, for example, changes very often and uses the second and the fourth. So it's a little bit more tricky, but in this standard, Tanturi is also doing this. So if I play En el Salón, I think it was here the second and the fourth line.
En el salón quedó mi juventud, lejana juventud. Siguiendo huellas de tango no me perdí ni una noche, siempre bailando, bailando.
Did you hear? So there was this pausa in between the first and the second phrase, and then when it came back, and it's very softly, it's really softly, the syncopation. My personal, how to say, impression is that Tanturi Campos can be danced by any level. So whereas when we have the dramatic Troilo Marino, everybody says, "Oh, I need to dance this with this partner," and the Pugliese Tanda also, I have my favorite Tanda. And with the Tanturi Campos, it's a little bit, I like this song, and I have the feeling it's more to invite maybe also somebody new. And it's, please, Teresa.
I remember that leaders were complaining sometimes about Tanturi Campos to dance because of the rubato. When they tried to follow the singer, then they lost the compass. So you have to be sure where the beats are to dance during the singing, but because it's impossible to dance to the rubato singing.
To the rubato singing, my answer is like it's only difficult if you want to move a lot. If you accept that you do some steps and then you have a break again, it's very wavy, this music, to have like an impulse and release, an impulse again. And if you accept that, if you want to dance like you would dance Mandria, D'Arienzo, Chagua, tang, tang, tang all the time, then you say, no, here I'm missing the compass. Okay, yeah, it's 5 years later. It has changed.
In general, I agree that things like syncopation or rubato are not to be danced literally with steps. They are more to be felt and to influence your body and the feeling in general. But I know these complaints. I had them several times when I played Tanturi Campos, or in the classes also.
Yeah. No, there are some famous marathon dancers who don't like Tanturi Campos. I heard it. But I mean, we have a guest. You want to say more, Teresa?
No, I just tell you when I want to say something.
Please. We have a guest, who doesn't like Tanturi? Iri, do you want to share with us? Hey,
to share my dislike.
your dislike, yeah.
How everyone
I
knows.
like opposite statements.
Yeah, I came here. Maybe you tried to reconvince me somehow. But yes, I agree. It's very simple and clean, but maybe too simple and clean, because it's very, for me, it's very like in the middle, medium everything. Medium rhythmical, medium dramatical, medium fast, medium slow, like medium in the middle of everything. So it's not calling for the dance floor, which is tough also, not only for dancers, but for DJs, maybe mostly for DJs. And it's not very easy to find a place, time and the place when to put it, because there's a okay, in my surrounding at least, it's a very high risk to lose people on the milonga, especially when it's the second half of the milonga, so people just may leave. So
Okay, I get it. So we have simplicity and what was the other word that we used?
yeah, because as for, if we're talking about simplicity, for me, like the good example of simplicity and highly implementable, I should say, it's Canaro. Like
Well,
when
for
when
me, I would rather leave than if the DJ plays a Canaro, then I would say, okay, and I had my nice pugliese before, now I can leave. And
see,
for
we
me,
are all different.
yeah, we all different, and that's okay. And I remember when I played in Moscow, what surprised me is one time that it was completely crowded was D'Agostino Vargas, and somehow it's the same period. It was a D'Agostino Vargas 44, 45. I don't remember if I played Tanturi Campos in Moscow, but it has to be the right moment. And if you have a very intensive tanda before, and last week I had a strong tanda, and then you need something. Okay, if you continue like this with this intensity, people will go out and say, okay, now I go out and smoke and have a drink, and I come back in half an hour. And by that, I think it works, or in my experience, it worked a couple of times, that you keep them in the room and, okay, now we're breathing and relaxing a bit. I play another example, or for me, the best idea would be to be very on the music. The more we can point out what we like and what we don't like, in which part, when the singer is, if we get disturbed by the violin, or if we don't like that there's to stop in the marcato and then we don't know where to step, then it's the easiest to understand. The more we get general, then it's like, okay, I agree what you said. It's a mix of everything. That's true. But I think the mix of everything in very good moments, and it's not a mix of everything at the same time, because for me this is Canaro. A little bit of not staccato, not legato, wrong. It's portato in the middle. And for example, I love this, to play with this phrasing and this energy. So for me, it's like surfing on waves with Tanturi, and it's of course less intensive than the Troilo Ruiz that I presented last week, or Troilo Marino, I would say as well. Yeah, I'll play an example, and then we can discuss this. One example about this simpleness is a moment when Campos sings, and then the accompaniment stops or starts to have a counterpoint in the accompaniment, and then he takes over, and they are having this, sometimes it's called question and answer, and we have the impulse first from the main theme, from the singer, and then from the accompaniment. It's the same part that I played before, where we start with the syncopation and then it continues.
En el salón quedó mi juventud, lejana juventud. Siguiendo huellas de tango no me perdí ni una noche, siempre bailando, bailando. En el salón dejé mi corazón prendido a una ilusión. Allí, tal vez arrinconado, lo he de hallar cansado de esperar su amor.
That was the other song. But we had a similar thing here that they play, and for me it's like I already forgot again what it is in English. Doppelpunkt. Like now there will be an announcement, and then comes again the singer, and the singer is for 1 bar unaccompanied. Now I'm in the right page. So from Esta noche al pasar, the B part.
Son como el tango tristón que enredó en tu balcón, el compás de una queja que es mía y te besa, yo soy tu cantor. Esta noche al pasar, en mis sueños en flor, quiero dejar a mi corazón.
So the singer finishes, and then we have an accompaniment. This is 2, 3, 4, 1, and then the singer continues again. And we have this a couple of times. I think 4 times, counting also the instrumental parts. And for me, it's super simple, but very interesting to play with. Let's listen to it one more time.
Yo soy tu cantor, esta noche al pasar, en mis sueños en flor, quiero dejar a mi corazón.
And then it comes again from the instrumental part. So it's one example that goes into simplicity. It's not syncopation. It's not something big, contracanto. It's just like he finishes ta dang kang kang pausa, and then it continues. But I think it's very nice to play with it. For example, Iri.
For advanced dancers, yes, sure. But in the milonga population, not consist only on the people like you, like me, like us here. So that's the main problem, I think. So for me, the Tanturi Campos is mostly like a red wine, which I don't understand. I understand, like there are a lot of people who like can find a lot of taste in that, but that's not obvious for the majority of people. And as a DJ, I should fit the taste of the majority. That's a problem.
I get it. It's a nice comparison. What I would say is that with Tanturi Campos, it's still easier than with some other songs because he repeats it. In this, he's a little bit like the Sarli, that he has a refined way to do something special, but it makes it less complicated because we hear it 3 times and not just 1 time. And this with Troilo, for example, is more difficult with him because very often he does not repeat it, or every time is again a little bit different. And even D'Arienzo, sometimes with the syncopation, is that we hear it first, then we don't hear it, and the 3rd time is also different. So
yeah, I should say that you're right. So if we're talking about the musical phrasing, let's say, but if we're talking about the emotional degree, like the because of the Troilo, it just grabs and throws you. It's so strong. Whatever, like syncopas, whatever the phrasing in that. But when you are not like thrown through the music, you have to think a lot. And that's for not the advanced dancers, that's a problem. Okay. For me, yes, I understand completely, but now I'm fighting mostly for the more low level dancers, I should say.
Matjaž, you wanted to comment. I had a feeling before.
Yes. I would like to share some experiences of mine from early years of my tango journey, and like one event that left a really huge impression on me. And it was like after a few months of dancing, I went to one workshop that was held by 2 maestros from Argentina, Andrea Messia and Leandro Palu. And there was a local milonga after the workshop. And I noticed that they were not dancing much, and I was just trying to figure out what is happening, whether they didn't like the music or they didn't invite others. I mean, he was inviting some other followers, but she was like sitting most of the time during the milonga, and I was just wondering why she's not dancing. And then, like almost at the end of the milonga, Tanturi Campos Tanda started with Una Emoción, and she immediately stand up and went dancing, and it left really like a big impression on me. Like the song, of course, we all love it. And in regards to this Tanda, I agree. It's not like these are not the songs that are so well known, but also these things are changing. I think we can be very open to it. I would dare to play it if I would have a feeling that I have a really good connection with the dancers. I think it could work really well, and sometimes I do it when I have really these feelings. And the other DJs might know this. When you really, how to say, there is an expression in my mother tongue that says that they're eating from your hand, like that. You just have a feeling you cannot do a mistake. Then it will work out. And for me, like dancing to Tanturi Campos is like, as Una Emoción lyrics say, it's tango y nada más. I just forget about everything. I'm just in the dance. I agree. On the other hand, it can be very challenging for more beginners. And in this way, I would start then maybe with Una Emoción that most of the people know. And yeah, the other song that I might finish, because it's also well known, might be Recién. And I have played all these 4 songs in my DJing. Maybe not all 4 of them together, but all 4 of them I played, I remember, and I just love them. And like Vlado sometimes jokes, even if you would just put it randomly, or even I mean, I think Tanturi and Campos didn't record any song that is not danceable or beautiful. And I cannot say this for any orchestra, even if they are my favorite orchestras. I cannot say this. But yeah, with them, I really enjoy all the songs.
But they recorded a lot of titles that were not recorded by other orchestras, and by then we don't know them that well. So, and I agree with Iri that you have to choose the right moment. That if you have the feeling people are already tempted to go home, maybe not this one. But I can think of many moments when the milonga is very crowded. So for me, it's like the moment when you have a peak, and maybe you just had a strong tanda, I don't know, Pugliese, D'Arienzo, Troilo, and then you continue with something to put smooth on the dance floor. I could fit very nicely. If you have any questions, feel free to join the discussion, or comments or suggestions. I also remember that my first Tanturi Campos tandas, especially in Vienna, they were just the best of. So Una Emoción, La Abandoné y No Sabía, Recién, yeah.
And also, if I can add, when I was looking for on the internet a little bit about the trivia, I noticed, I don't know if this is true, but I noticed that, let's say, Gavito had a very extremely high esteem about Campos. He was using like, Tanturi Campos also for teaching for the majority of his classes. He was using Tanturi Campos. And I remember with Sabina, when we were in Buenos Aires on some classes, Tanturi Campos, it was, I was astonished, that they were using this music for the classes, because maybe because of this simplicity, and also because of this, that you have to think a little bit.
Definitely, it's more played in Buenos Aires than here. And
may I?
Please, where are you?
I would like to support Matjaž in some ways, because I've been playing tandas with Tanturi and Campos for years now, and I haven't really seen, I haven't noticed any groups of people who didn't like the tandas. I think a lot of it depends on the selections, the 4 songs, And definitely those 4 songs cannot be not known by the dancers. At least some of them should be, some of the 4 should be known. And generally, I must say, well, for me, talking about Tanturi is not like Tanturi and whatever singer. To me, Tanturi and Campos are special. I play Tanturi and Campos more than Tanturi and Castillo for some reason, my reason, I guess. So I don't know. I was always getting compliments about that, but it's the selection, it's the 4 songs that one puts in the tanda that makes a difference.
What I can add to this is I love Tanturi Campos also because I don't know what I will get. So I recognize first song Tanturi Campos, and then it's like which way there are so many choices possible. Whereas sometimes when I hear Tanturi instrumental, I know very very well what is coming because there are not so many pieces to choose from. And if he starts with Comparsa Criolla, then Una Noche de Garufa is very probable to be in the tanda as well. And maybe he will use with Castillo a switch mixed the up-tempo songs, or he stays instrumental. With Tanturi Campos, it's more wide. But yeah, thank you, Anna.
I think what is really important here in this case is also the role of the singer. Like many of my teachers used to say, or are still saying, that sometimes a singer is like telling you how to dance. And in this case, I really like that you added translations of the lyrics, because I think they also give a certain meaning to all these songs. Like all of them are quite simple, but are really like covering like really different emotions. And as you said, I really like this, that there is like this connection with mi pueblo, like with my people, with my neighborhood. And yes, I think this can be felt in these songs. And there's also a lot of nostalgia. Also when he's referring to, for example, to Gardel, that was like already like passed away for many years when he was singing this. Yeah, I think this is really important thing, because with some tangos that are more simple, I mean, lyrics, I guess, are not so important, but in this case, I think they are. And also I think by like, now that I'm trying to learn to sing, also by this, I'm discovering like the role of the singer and how he can like really help you to, I don't know, to dance better, or more connected with the music and inspire you.
Speaking about the details, there's one detail about Tanturi that he loves to use single syncopation. And he uses this more in 42 with Castillo, but in El Salón we have the same. And maybe it's something you will never use in the dance very explicitly, because it's happening one time, and one phrase yes, one phrase no, in our case now. But I'll play it for you. It will be an interesting detail. Maybe you'll notice it the next time in a different song by him. So it was in the phrase 3 and 4, I think always on 5. Play it one more and I tell you. No? No? And it's not the D'Arienzo ones. If you listen to the 50s, he also does this syncopation on single syncopation on 5, but you really feel it coming. It's like preparing and then it's releasing in this syncopation. And here it's like, and suddenly and it continues. Of course, it's as I said, it's a little detail, and you might not use it for any step. Maybe you feel it the next time with your partner, and you will just stop and this was the single syncopation Helmut was talking that Tanturi is using very often in the A part in the first 30 seconds of the song. For the freaks. Do you have any closing comments, questions to tonight? We are already 5 minutes over time. Teresa.
What I liked in this tanda was the choice of the lyrics, because they were all self-referencing to tango, to singing and to tango. And I think, as I know you, Helmut, I think this was by purpose. And I made my experience is when I look for from the lyrics to find a tanda that is in a thematic way, in some way connected, then it's often results in a good tanda.
Thank you, Teresa. Vlado, please.
Just a final word, Helmut. Thank you for this extremely beautiful conversation, for the choice, for the topic, Tanturi, Campos, and my final word will be: don't be afraid of Tanturi. As a DJ, Tanturi is always a weapon of choice, and Tanturi, Campos will never disappoint you as a DJ. Yeah.
Thank you, Vlado, for joining. Thank you, Matjaž, as well. You want to have a final word? Or
you mean me? I think Anna would like to say also something. Or
no, I think it's still what she.
Okay.
I just don't know how to turn it off.
Okay, no problem. Yes, I mean, as I mentioned, Tanturi is one of my favorite orchestras, and especially this combination, Tanturi, Campos, and for me, it's like I never get bored of it. For me, it's always like I would listen to it for the first time. It's like you cannot get bored, or it's just like every time it's really magical. And I hope we will soon have opportunity to experience this magic together. Like many of us know each other here. I'm really happy to see you. And yes, really, thank you very much, Helmut. This is really beautiful what you are doing. And it's, I think, so much connected with tango that for me means also like to connect with others and share beautiful things in life. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Matjaž. I want to comment from the musician's point of view. What Tanturi, especially Tanturi in the period with Campos, is doing sometimes, that he's using very concrete themes that we had in the first song, this tarakataka-tang, karakataka-tang, very catchy. And then comes a part is that is more difficult to sing, already to remember, because it's the tessitura is higher, and this is sometimes happening. And so we have parts where we are it's easy to follow the music, and parts where we have the feeling, okay, now I'm losing it a little bit, or I can't, it's a little bit more abstract, I cannot touch it or grasp it in this way. And I think as well, like I like this, it keeps us attentive, and for the connection, it's like, okay, we both need to express this little abstractness, and I think that is the thing that keeps it fresh. Thanks everyone for joining. Next week will be on Pugliese Montero, so another not so famous part of Tanda selection, with a very strong song, A la luz del candil, and other songs that are also quite interesting from the lyrics. And I'll keep you posted. Thanks for joining tonight.
Bye to everybody. Bye-bye.
Vamos, morocha, a bailar este tango sin par que rezonga en la orquesta. Vamos a vestir de fiesta el corazón que hasta la noche de hoy se presta.